welcome to the Generalist, where security practitioners come to look beyond silos, niches, and their egos, and perhaps expand their professional comfort zones. My name is Ilya Umanskiy. If you recall, in our inaugural episode, we talked about the man with the hammer problem and how to move our industry forward. Well, today I want to dive in a little bit more deeply into this issue that I would call a tool belt misconception. I'll explain. One of the key issues that I would like to discuss with you, and the question that is on my mind quite often, is why is it that we're learning in our professional niches and using fairly narrow knowledge to help solve clients' problems that are far more complex. Here's an example. I was working on a project for a government client. They were expanding their campus site, and the client team asked me to become a peer consultant to review the original consulting report with advice on how to implement security controls. What I struggled with was a fairly lengthy section which basically outlined the key recommendation, which was to help mitigate various threats by implementing a video surveillance system. I also struggled to find additional controls, be it physical, operational, that could help substantiate this type of recommendation, the video surveillance recommendation. And I started trying to understand, okay, so you can deal with different incidents by deploying different types of measures and relying on different types of measures, be it your physical, let's say, circulation, it could be walls and doors, right? It could be the way you deploy personnel, and yet I struggled to find solid recommendations in the report beyond that video surveillance system. So I started looking at the drawings. I looked up how many additional video surveillance cameras this consultant recommended. And I then went to the client team and I asked them a question. Well, how many video surveillance cameras do you monitor now? Their team was comprised of 3 operators and 1 supervisor. And they, if I recall correctly, were already dealing with around 60 cameras around their campus facility. So my next question to them was, fine, how easy is it for you to manage these cameras, these 60 some cameras? And of course they said that, of course it's slightly challenging because most of their attention could be devoted to only a handful of these cameras. And I could understand prioritization of video signal depending on criticality of certain locations, of course. Then I asked them, if we were to increase the number of cameras at various locations around your campus twofold, how many more people would you need to assign to your security operations center? And what was puzzling to me was that they never planned to increase that staff. And they were very concerned about the fact that somebody recommended to simply enhance a video surveillance system and increase the count of video surveillance cameras in hopes of this comprehensive threat mitigation. So this is what I mean when we talk about the need to really expand our tool belt and think about a variety of different solutions, different tools, if you will, in order to help solve clients' problems. But what happens if you simply learn different tips and tricks within your niche? For example, if you're a technologist, and specifically a technologist within a video surveillance market, even granted that you might be doing, let's say, video analytics or call it the recent tools such as AI. A lot of companies say that they also apply and implement AI on their systems, or machine learning. Even with that, are you competent enough, and is your knowledge wide enough to understand how to solve clients' problems with tools other than technology and specifically video surveillance? And in addition, are you always cognizant of how many operators does it take to effectively monitor and, most importantly, proactively monitor such a system? However many cameras you may have, how do you combine and align the number of operators with the number of video surveillance cameras? So what I see is a lot of practitioners in our industry, when they are stuck in a specific niche, develop this tunnel vision. And unfortunately, just like I mentioned in my previous episode, they also become this man with the hammer, okay? And continue to offer advice simply on the basis of their narrow knowledge. At the same time, what this leads to is significant degree of defensiveness. So if you take that individual, that quote-unquote consultant, out of their comfort zone and talk to them about operational controls, or let's say threat intelligence, or physical protection controls, and then having to blend those different controls together in order to achieve a slightly better or a lot better protection, it is very likely that a person like this will rely and fall back on their niche knowledge and will only be able to competently discuss how their product, how technologies that they understand could complement potentially this wider solution, without really understanding how the other pieces of that solution fit together. And at the same time, if you challenge them, let's say about the same count of operators that needing to be increased, and perhaps not having enough budget to increase that count in order to facilitate effective monitoring, that person all of a sudden will start defending their position to say that yes, but you still need video surveillance enhancements, and we will try to match or make the video surveillance system as robust as possible in order to still accommodate this low number of operators, even though the number of cameras themselves would increase. I have seen this on multiple projects where we've challenged manufacturers and integrators, for example, with issues that related to these wider solutions, where we needed to think not only about the technology that is being presented to us or that can be utilized properly, very effectively, but how to make it most effective. For that, we would need to arrange different additional controls. For example, as I said before, the number of personnel would probably have to increase. And some additional operational controls would have to be changed. For example, standard operating procedures would have to change. Incident response measures would have to change, and so on and so forth. In addition, physical security controls would have to change with that. You'd have to think about different physical locations. You'd have to prioritize more. You'd have to perhaps sometimes make adjustments to different parts of a facility, let's say. And so one thing that I've noticed that comes from this degree of defensiveness, tunnel vision, is this erosion of trust and collaboration on multidisciplinary teams. Because if each person, knowing only their limited, let's say, set of tools, set of controls, cannot get past and learn from other disciplines within our industry and be more widely educated about different types of controls. They are less likely to be able to collaborate in this open manner, in this with the ability to listen to ideas from other practitioners and offer a competent level of advice. So I want to share with you how I started in this industry and what helped me develop a more generalist approach. My mentor, my coach, Paul DeMatteis, brought me into Prudential Financial in Newark, New Jersey, many moons ago. And what I noticed about his ability to manage and collaborate with his team was that he always had the trust in people's wide spectrum capability, in their capability to look across multiple solutions, to not be married to one specific solution, or let's say a limited number of solutions, and always look for ways of how to optimize the overall solution for our client. And as a result of it, what happened was that we were, first of all, assigned a variety of different tasks. Some of them related to selection of technology or vetting of technology. Some of them were geared toward management of security guard force. Some of them related to information protection. We also delved into subject matters like threat intelligence, geopolitical analysis, and so on and so forth. So he never allowed a single team member to be focused very narrowly on, let's say, the video surveillance system, as I mentioned in the beginning of this. So what also assisted us as a team, of course under his careful guidance, was that we always were free, and he also led this, to ask this question of one another. What do you think? Right? Because we had this mantra of parking our ego at the door. And matter of fact, this is the first place where I learned this phrase. And we always asked our colleagues to share with us what they thought about the best way of solving, let's say, a security problem, security issue. And I remember very distinctly that at times we were very much keen on, let's say, solving certain problems with technology, only to realize by speaking with our colleagues that actually the solution was really rooted in having to manage the guard force and our team much better, and having to coach and train our guard force, particularly those who were on the front lines and they were stationed at the outer perimeter of our facility, to utilize different tactics, different behaviors that catered to the solution that we needed. So very often I found that we actually designed different solutions by having to collaborate and not really being stuck thinking only about a certain technology, a certain niche where some narrow solutions were available. What I also identified being part of that team was that we were offered a great degree of situational leadership. What do I mean? Of course, we have leaders that are assigned. They have the title, and of course, we all understood that they were our supervisors. However, Paul and other managers with whom we worked were very, very flexible to allow a lot of team members, and including myself, to actually lead certain initiatives. I remember how we needed to stand up a program on vetting third-party service providers for our organization. And certain people from our team were selected, and they were given these responsibilities to lead and communicate with different functions within our company, and to really, without having constant oversight by management, to move those efforts forward. I remember also how I was assigned to help design a program for access to facilities that we had across several cities, several neighborhoods, during emergencies, where we had thousands of people living in those areas and needing access when we anticipated certain shutdowns. That was especially relevant after 9/11. So the situational leadership developed qualities in each of us where we were able to design our small project teams, work collaboratively with people from different functions, and help design solutions that relied on advice, collaboration across different functional expertise, across different sets of knowledge. So that was my experience. And what I want to share with you is for you to consider 7 skill domains that I think will work for your benefit as a well-rounded professional in our industry. So here they are. There are 3 foundational domains of knowledge, and there are 4 focus domains of knowledge. The three domains that are foundational are professional polish, psychology, and design. Each one of them helps build your ability to communicate, read people, and understand how everything around us facilitates either positive or negative experience with our environment. Okay? Just do yourself a favor and look up on YouTube videos under the moniker Norman Doors, and you will understand what I mean. And I'll try to link this under this video in comments. So then the other 4 focus domains of knowledge will help you become a more well-rounded professional in security. But keep in mind, without the 3 foundational domains, no matter how good your skills are on the technical side, on the focus side of security, you still are not likely to be able to properly present ideas, communicate, listen, understand people's behaviors, and design solutions that actually help people, that are beneficial for people and for environments. So those 4 domains are as follows. First is operational security. Operational security means your policies, procedures, your ability to structure an organization, hire talent, and give them clear directions and instructions. The second domain out of these 4 is technological. So technology, of course, entails variety of things like video surveillance, signal intelligence, video analytics, access control, intrusion detection, and included in that would be cyber security. Although I'm not a big believer in the word cyber, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with information that lives in 3 domains: mental, physical, and digital. So I welcome for you to think about that. The next domain is physical security. Now, a lot of people all of a sudden will stop and say, well, isn't everything we do physical security? I don't agree with that. I believe that physical security is simply a niche in our industry that specifically addresses the need to use controls such as doors, windows, compartmentalization, site selection and site planning, site design, physical structures, and physical barriers to help form lines of circulation, pedestrian and vehicular. It helps protect things and buildings from blast and tenants within facilities from blast. It helps, if necessary, protect facilities from gunfire and from vehicle attacks. And it also helps create systems of physical access control, compartmentalization, moving from one layer of your facility to the next, to the more secure layer, if you will. Last but not least is the domain of incident management. I would say that this domain entails a very clear understanding of three aspects: readiness, response, and recovery. And the reason why I separate this domain is because it's very important to understand that there are distinct bodies of knowledge that are related to incident management, such as FEMA, ICS 100, and various other levels of education, which spell out how to form incident command and incident management, regardless of the type of organization that you're working within. And of course, there are all additional elements of this particular niche that are absolutely crucial. And yes, you could think of them as related to operations, and of course they may be, or technologies for that matter. But they all have their focus specifically for incident management. For example, selection of incident communication software and hardware, selection of communication controls and communication scripts. How do you write them? How are you able to communicate? Ability to understand the difference between structured command, if you will, and swarm leadership. So all those concepts have been known to individuals and practitioners for a very long time. But what I see is that we have this misconception about the spectrum of our tool belt. Why is it that we have a lot of incident managers but who don't understand video surveillance? Why is it that we have a lot of operations people that have no idea about, let's say, physical asset protection, such as selection of door hardware, selection of blast protection, vehicle interdiction measures, bullet resistance, and so on? They have no idea about those standards. Why do we have technologists who are missing knowledge across the other several disciplines, particularly incident management? A lot of technologies are still designed without incident management concepts in mind, without the ease of use, without the cognitive fatigue awareness, things of that nature. So, to sum up, we definitely can continue this conversation, and I can dedicate 2, 3, 4 hours to just having a conversation about it. But I want you to think about this. And I want you to engage and share your opinions, your questions, maybe some resources that you have come across about expansion of our collective and individual tool set so that we can more competently advise our clients across the spectrum of these domains of knowledge. So, thank you very much for your attention. Until next time, please stay safe, and we'll see you soon.